what's going on? It's time for another episode of Damien Ruins Horror Movies. I'm Damien. That was a new intro, and if you like that music, that band is called the Whiskey Bats. And they are getting ready to go into the studio. I think they were planning to go in, and then the whole COVID thing happened, and it fucked up a lot of people, and musicians weren't safe from it either. So, but there is a link you can click on below. You can go on YouTube, you can go to their channel, and you can check out their other songs. They have a lot of good songs on there. And if you like this shirt, you can go to Cool Dude Inc. There's a link for that below too, and you can go order them. There's other shirts too. Happy Valentine's Day, because I am recording this on Valentine's Day. I'm just not putting it out on Valentine's Day because it takes a minute to make these videos. And there's always that question when Valentine's Day is on a Sunday. It's like, because my videos typically land about Wednesday. So it's like, do I make it the Wednesday before or the Wednesday after? And the smart answer is you make it the Wednesday before, because once Valentine hits on Sunday, the following Wednesday, nobody gives a shit about Valentine's Day anymore. It's forgotten. But I'm doing it anyway. And this is the remake, not the original. I know most people are like, fuck the remake. I like the original. I don't know why we always have to choose, because sometimes it's pretty obvious. But yes, there was a time period from 2000 to 2010. It's probably a little bit longer. We'll go 11 if we count Nightmare on Elm Street, where there are a lot of remakes made, and they didn't necessarily need to be. And most of them sucked. But there's certain, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake was kind of weird because they made weird changes. And it's a movie that's kind of predicated on being based on a true story. So it's like, well, yeah, throw in all this weird stuff. Granted, now, if I was 15 when that movie came out and I'd never seen the original, especially if I'd never heard the original and I watched it, it probably would have scared the fuck out of me. And I'd be like, holy shit. But they are, I mean, one is like a film that's like almost a found footage. Not almost, but like that feeling where it's like, it's really easy to stick yourself in there. Versus the other one's Hollywood. And all these remakes have one thing in common, is they're very Hollywood. They have the budget to make the movies to where it's like, we don't want that. Horror fans are funny, because I think a lot of them feel like, it's like, we don't want this Hollywood makeover of these classics that we love so much. We love the old gritty originals and we fuck CGI. We like the practical effects and the real. But then, like, anytime when like Shout Factory puts out a special Blu-ray, it's like, oh, we got a Blu-ray of this 1982 movie. They're like, oh, cool, just go get it. It's like, why are you watching a digital version of a movie you like in its rawness? Especially because I haven't watched a lot of Blu-rays of like old movies, older movies, you know, like 80s slashers with like, you know, lower budget. But I've heard that they're terrible. Like, just like it just ruins. Like, the picture is like, the mystery gets taken out, and you look at it and you're like, Jesus, that looks like crap. That looks fake as fuck. It's because like those movies, a lot of those movies do look fake anyway. But then like the Blu-ray, I shouldn't even be talking about this because I don't know. I haven't checked it out. I'm just saying, just so Blu-rays, like for me, it's like I'll get superhero movies on Blu-ray because that's how they were meant to be seen. Because a lot of them don't have story, because they couldn't just follow the fucking structure that's already written in the comics. They got to be like, well, what if we do this? Like, no. Spider-Man met Gwen Stacy first. Don't put Mary Jane in the first one. You just fucked up the whole timeline. But anyway, this is a remake, and I like the remake. And I'll go ahead and say it. I'll say it just to be controversial. I like the remake better than the original. How about that? Yeah, you know why? Because the remake combines two things I love: Tom and Atkins. That's right, Tom motherfucking Atkins. So the film, it's almost kind of clever. It's neat how they do it, where it's news clippings with the voiceover telling the story of the mine that day when it collapsed, and only one guy, Harry Warden, made it out. But then they find out that the others didn't die because they suffocated. They got pickaxed to death by Harry. Maybe because he wanted their heir. Maybe Harry was a bit of a cannibal. He's like, I'm going to be here for a while. I'm going to have to steal their heir, and I'm going to have to eat their bodies. It doesn't actually say that he's a cannibal, but could be. But he survived it, and he has flashbacks in his dream as he wakes up from his coma. He's in the hospital, and like a nurse goes to check on him, and his bed's empty. And she goes around the corner. He's sitting there just like waiting. Like, then he starts a killing spree in the hospital, which is really weird because if any movie were to have massacre in the title, it should be this, just based on this opening scene. He goes through and annihilates everyone in sight and just dismembers, disembowels, rips bodies apart, which is strange because I don't know how long he was in the coma. And I don't know what he was using for a weapon, but he's very successful in his method. I know if I sit on the toilet too long, I can't just immediately get up and start running. My legs need a minute to adjust, but this motherfucker's like, what? This is, X amount of time I've been going without killing anybody. And he's finger painting on the walls and ripping out hearts and putting them in boxes, heart-shaped boxes with real hearts inside and like mailing. I don't know if he's mailing them or dropping, making the right. He's pretty amazing. It's like, what's this guy's motive? He's a miner. If you didn't like mining, why didn't you just find another job? I know it's a mining town, and it didn't have the mining town feel that the original had, but still, we get it. And it's Valentine's Day, which I don't know, that's how sad this town is. It's like Valentine's Day is a big deal, and they have a party at the mine because the whole town revolves. The mine is the pulse of the fucking town, and everybody's there waiting. I don't know if everybody's there. It's like teenagers because this is where we meet Axel and Irene. They're a couple, and they're waiting for Tom, not Tom Atkins, but Tom Hanniger or Hanniger, however the fuck you say his name. His dad owns the mine, and his girlfriend Sarah's supposed to come. And Axel hates Tom. You can tell, and he's like, I don't want to wait for him. Fuck that guy. And not sure why, but you can tell there's an animosity. And he's like, oh, I'll kick that guy's ass. And then when Tom and Sarah finally do arrive, Irene takes their picture. And she's like, Axel, you want a picture of us? He's like, no. And they're going to go in the mine and drink beer. And Tom's like, oh, wait, I forgot the beer in the truck. I'll meet you guys in there. Okay. So they go in, and while Tom's not around, a guy in a miner suit jumps out to scare them, like he's Harry Warden. And then when he walks away, Harry Warden from the hospital kills him. And the kill scenes in this movie, like, without knowing, like, if nobody told you this was a 3D movie, you could watch it and be like, was this a 3D movie? Because you can tell. But at the same time, the kills in this movie are actually pretty awesome. They are CGI, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's like they're good. Some of it's kind of like, what the fuck? But it's still like, they're not holding back with the kills. They're like, hey, we got the technology. Look what we can do. And then they do it, and you're just like, oh. I never got to see it in 3D, so I don't know how much better it looked. Irene, Axel, and Sarah realize, oh my God, there's a killer. We got to get the fuck out of here. And it's kind of alluding to the viewer. It's like, hey, red herring much? Where's Tom? But then as they're running out, they're like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And they run into Tom. So they're like, okay, it's not Tom. But then they get in the truck, and then Tom like gets close to the truck. He's like, hey, I'm going to go with you. I don't want to get killed. And they're like, later, because Axel already doesn't like him. So he's like, I'm not going to wait for you, dude. And then they drive away. It's Harry versus Tom. And Tom's about to get killed. And who shows up to save the day? Because normally, cops in horror movies are pretty worthless. Unless their name is Tom motherfucking Atkins. And he shoots Harry seemingly dead. And as you expect when you watch a movie with this much carnage in the first 10 minutes, obviously they're going to jump to 10 years later. All of a sudden we got to hit that reset button, get everybody back up to speed. And it's because it's the future. We've just warped 10 years. And now Axel is the sheriff, and he's married to Sarah. And this film wastes no time showing us what a piece of shit Axel is. Because Sarah works at the grocery store, or owns it, or her parents own it and pass it down to her, or whatever. But Megan, her young little like worker, Axel's fucking her. Because basically, Kerr Smith, he keeps doing horror movies and he plays a piece of shit in every movie he's in. Because he's a piece of shit in this one. He's a piece of shit in Final Destination. He's a piece of shit in that fucking vampire movie I forget the name of. The only time he wasn't a piece of shit was when he was playing the gay brother on Dawson's Creek. That's because it was his first film. He couldn't call the shot, so he's like, I'll be gay. As long as you write in my contract I can be an asshole and everything else later. Are we bargaining or what? But we do find that by he's wrapping up the sex with old Megan at the love shack, like on his dad's property out in the middle of nowhere. It looks like Jason Voorhees' house. And she gives him a Valentine that says, be mine forever or whatever, which is, I wonder if they did this on purpose, because be mine. This movie's about a mine. Be mine. Huh? But Tom comes back. His dad died, so the mine is being passed down to him. He's come back to town to sell the mine. And he checks into the Thunderbird Motel. I love a good motel in a horror movie. And on the way to his room, he passes by another room where he can hear some fucking, and we get a little boobage. We go into the couple next door. The camera does. The viewer, not Tom, goes into the room next door. And they finish fucking. And it turns out the girl is Irene, Axel's ex. And she's fucking this Stone Cold Steve Austin looking trucker guy. And once he's done, she finds out that he's got a camera and he was filming the whole time. Because he's like, well, if you want to watch me have sex with Irene, give me a hell yeah. So she gets pissed off and he's like, whatever. And he starts going out to his truck and she chases him. And she doesn't bother to get dressed during the chase. So not only do we get boobage, we get full body Irene naked, following him, talking shit. She's got a gun. He knows the gun ain't loaded. So he's like, I don't care. The bottom line is, if people want to watch me have sex, they're going to have to watch this tape. And he tries to get into his car, but Harry Warden's not the car, but his truck. Harry Warden's in there. He comes out, pickaxe, right through the skull. Great looking kill scene. But now Irene's like, oh shit. So she goes hauling ass back to her room. And not since the original Point Break have I watched a grown woman run naked. I shouldn't specify she's a grown woman, because that implies that I watch little girls run naked all the time. I don't, but I don't see women run naked ever, except in these two movies. That's all I was trying to say. But Harry Warden catches up and kills her too. And they're both dead. And in the morning, Sheriff Axel is on the case. And turns out she has got a big gash down her because her heart has been ripped out. And they find the tape. Nothing quite like being a sheriff and finding the video evidence of the murder scene and seeing your ex on there. The bottom line is she's getting gorilla fucked by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tom pays Sarah a visit at the store. And it turns out he has been gone ever since that night they left him for dead. Not that they thought he was dead and he's back from the dead or anything like that. He just, after that, he bailed. And now he's back. And he talks to her, and it's kind of like the devastation of him leaving. Not devastation, but, she was heartbroken. And so that's how she hooked up with Axel. So it's kind of like, if he wouldn't have left, and that's why Axel's kind of such an asshole. It's because he knows he's getting Tom sloppy seconds. He knows if Tom wouldn't have left, there'd be no him and Sarah. But it's also weird, because in the beginning, it's like, okay, Axel's with Irene. Axel hates Tom because Axel doesn't really want to be with Irene. That's his girlfriend. He's settling. He wants Sarah. Sarah's with Tom. But now, since Tom had disappeared, Axel gets the girl. So Axel wins. So what does he do? He fucks Megan. He has an affair with Sarah's little helper, and now Tom's back. And Megan's listening to the whole conversation, and she's kind of like, which is funny, she doesn't actually do anything as information. It's just showing, she's just kind of like, oh, what's going on over there? She's not like, oh, I could use this to leverage Axel into getting a divorce and being with me now that Tom's back, and Sarah never really loved him. But Sarah and Tom will not be rekindling that love so soon, because Sarah's pissed because she knows Tom is selling the mine. Which I don't understand. It's like, who are you selling? It's not like you're selling it to the Chinese and they're exporting mines out and now there's no mine. You're just taking your name off of it. But she's pissed. Everybody's pissed. They're lecturing Tom because Tom, you're only here because you're going to get the money and cash out and go. And he's like, that's exactly what I'm doing. They're like, it's a fucking mine. Who cares? But everybody's kind of like, fuck Tom. He's an asshole. So Tom strikes out, goes over to the mine, and takes a little walk through, and runs into Harry Warden. I thought Harry Warden was dead. And he ends up getting locked in like the cage. And he watches as Harry Warden kills Red, like an old guy that works in the mine. Next thing you know, Tom's at the hospital getting stitched up because he got a little pickaxe to the shoulder. Nothing big, it's just a flesh wound, but enough that he had to get stitched up. So he's hanging out at the hospital, and suddenly we have a little reunion. We got Sarah's there, Axel shows up, Tom's there. The only one missing is Irene because, she died. And Axel's pissed because he thinks... Axel, I think, had like sealed it anywhere. He's like, okay, I got Sarah. Like, Axel thinks he's got his cake and eats it too. He's like, I got Sarah. Sarah got nowhere else to go. I'm the sheriff. I run shit. I can do whatever I want. I got Sarah and I can bang all the other. I can have the family life and I can be the player. Like he thinks he's a character in Mad Men. And Sarah's not really stopping him because it turns out she does know, but she's not in an island. She's just like, small town. So now Axel's extra pissed because he thinks Tom is just back to ruin that. So you're trying to fuck up my game. My game is I fuck her, I live with her, that's the mother of my child, that's my wife, but I bang her, and if somebody else comes along, I bang them, and I bang them, and I do bang, 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 bang. I do whatever I want. But now you're back. Now you're the stud. It's like, I cannot have that. I think you're killing people. And Tom's like, what? I'm not killing anybody. It's Harry. Harry's back. And Axel's like, bullshit. Tom motherfucking Atkins killed him that fucking night when he was going to try and kill you. We just kept it on the down low. Which, why did they keep it on the down low? There's a murderer in this small mining town. They're like, I think he left. It's like, if you caught the guy, and definitely if you killed the guy, wouldn't you want to tell everybody? Say, hey, you guys are safe. Everybody's just in 10 years been like, I hope that fucking crazy miner doesn't come back. But they take a walk to the burial site, and it kind of looks like there's no body. And it's like, hey, maybe he wasn't dead when we buried him. It's like, they didn't. It was almost like they patted their foot on the leaves, like, trying to feel like there's no body in there. It's like, you can investigate, like, because it's been 10 years. Body's not going to be the same size it was when you buried it, so it might feel a little. It's like some serial killer burial site bullshit you got going on. Oh, we threw some leaves on them. Nobody will find them. You're supposed to be I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to be. You should want to, like, tell the towns, like, hey, guess what? We're heroes. Everybody's safe now. We caught the murderer. He's dead. And now the cops are looking for Harry. Sarah and Megan have a run-in with Harry while closing up the shop one day. Axel shows up to save the day, but it's too late. Megan is already dead. Sarah alludes to knowing about the affair. I mentioned that she knows. She knows. But Axel doesn't know she knows, and she says something, and Axel's like, oh. But this is where the red herrings start flying, because suddenly, this is where you notice, it's like, wow, Axel and Tom seem to always be around when people are getting killed. They're showing up in weird ways, not like they're being attacked and they're, oh, I'll help. I'll make a plan. They're not part of it. They just kind of show up. It's like, oh, what's going on? It's like, as soon as the murder's gone, they're like, hey. And it's either Tom or fucking Axel. It's like, all right, one of you guys are the fucking killer. In the next scene, they kill Tom motherfucking Atkins. And I can't think of a time I've ever watched him die before. I know Night of the Creeps, it alludes to him. He didn't die, though. He was undead. Goddamn slugs got him after he saved the day. I was like, when have you ever seen Tom Atkins get killed? And if you tell me, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. But I can't think of a time off the top of my head that it's happened. All right, it's time for the quick wrap up. So Axel shows up. Sarah's kind of like, all right, that was a little too convenient. She gets a call from Tom. Tom says, hey, I really need to talk to you. I'm going to come and pick you up. She agrees. Tom shows up, picks her up. They're in his car. He's like, we got to go out here. I got to show you something, because he's planning to show her Axel's love shack. And he's taking her and he's telling her stuff and like, oh, I'm sorry I left and blah, blah, blah. Then she gets a call on her cell phone and it's fucking Axel. And he's saying, hey, he's like, whatever you think about Tom, don't believe it. I just got some news. He's been in a mental institute the last 10 years. He's crazy. If you're with him, you need to get away from him as soon as possible. And she's like, oh shit. So now she's like, okay, I got Tom telling me this. I got Axel telling me that. I don't know what to believe. I'm in a car and I'm heading toward danger rather than just safety. I don't know what to do. And you know how when you're sitting next to somebody that's talking on their cell phone, you can hear everything the person that they're talking to is saying, even though it's not speakerphone, but you can still like, oh, did they just call me an asshole? But you can make out the words enough. It doesn't have to be on speakerphone for you to get every word. But she plays it off. He's like, who is that? She's like, yeah, that's my mom. He's like, really? He takes her to the place anyway, even though he knows that she knows, and somebody knows. It is a weird, like, because it's a remake made in a time period of remakes and plot twists. So it's like, are we getting the plot twist? So he takes her to the house. He's like, look at all these boxes, these heart-shaped boxes. There's like a closet full. And there's like the picture that she was looking at of her and Tom, which I didn't think about until I was like reading my notes for this. It's the same picture that was taken at the mine from the opening of the movie. But she was looking at it at her house. And now it's here at the mine because it's been planted, because maybe Tom planted it there. We don't know, but Axel's on the way. And she's like, you know what, fuck this. This guy's crazy. It's like, you know, maybe Axel's just a huge Nirvana fan. You don't know. You don't know that just because he has heart-shaped boxes, he's a killer. She makes a run for it. She gets to the mine. About that time, Axel shows up as Axel versus Tom. And she's like, all right, one of you guys is the fucking killer. You're definitely not in on it together. She ends up getting Axel's gun. So she's got it on both of them. It's like that whole, like, one of you guys are the imposter. Who is it? And Axel does the smart thing where he's like, hey, you know what? I love you. I care about you. I know we got our problems. We need to work them out. I mean, kill me, but kill both of us, okay? It's like, if that's what it takes, I just want you to be safe. And she's like, what? And then Tom starts talking, and he says a little too much about the Megan crime scene where Sarah was actually there. And the only way people could know the details of Megan's death is if they were there too. And so she realizes, Tom, you motherfucker, it was you all along. In a way, that's not a plot twist, because it's a remake of an 80s movie, and 80s slashers were a lot of times, if they weren't the sequel when they were the original, they were not in your face with who the killer was. There was always red herrings. It was always trying to make you think this, then taking you one way, going back a different way. So this is not a plot twist, although it did have the certain things where it had like the hairy and the Tom face-to-face staring at each other. And even in this scene, because all of a sudden Tom looks over and he sees Harry in the background. They're like, Harry's right there. Kill him. You have to shoot him. Kill him. He's gonna... And they're like, what are you talking about? And they can't see him. And then Harry eventually emerges. So it's kind of like a wannabe plot twist. But I give it a pass because 80s movies were all about like a lot of whodunits. Not all of them. Not all the slashers from the 80s were whodunits. But a lot of them were kind of that. Oh, is it this guy? That guy who was like tricking you along the way. I mean, it helped build the suspense. Fortunately for Tom, it's getting darker by the second. I'm trying to wrap this up. Fortunately for Tom, Sarah cannot shoot worth a piss, and he escapes a little bit. But then, like, he comes back, I don't know, she blows him up. And they get out of there. But it turns out Tom didn't die. Because as all the people, the rescue team shows up and everything, and you see one guy walking away, and he takes off his mask and all some of his gear, and he's got the suit on, takes a deep breath, and it's Tom. As if to set up a sequel. Just like the original set up a sequel. But there's never been a sequel. And Tom can change his clothes faster than a motherfucker. The Badass Bitch Award goes to Sarah for saving Axel that first time, trying to save Megan despite knowing she was fucking her husband, then blowing up Tom, even though he was her first love and even though he didn't die. What did we learn? Survival tales. If you're in a mine and stumble across some corpses, don't start yelling, hello, hello, and making your presence known. Don't leave your cell phone behind. If you're having homicidal side effects from your medication, maybe stop taking it. Maybe it's time to go to the doctor and be like, hey, can I get something else? Get some more Whiskey Bats going. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Share it with a friend. Hit me up on Facebook. All the information for all my social media shit is down below. It's just a couple clicks away. See you guys next time. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm cruising around my local cemetery. I'm feeling alright. I'm feeling alright. I pull out my shovel and my pink flashlight. My pink flashlight. I dig you out so one by one, and I don't stop till the break of dawn. I take you back to my laboratory, where I plan my revenge, bringing back the dead. Bringing back the dead. Whoa! I turn on my nuclear reactor just to give you life, to give you life. I had this fascination since I was about 5. Since I was 5, I leash you all on society. The world will finally taste my fury. I hope you don't mind to get a little gory. The day comes through your town, bringing back the dead. Bringing back the dead. Whoa! Is any wonder why I hate you so? When I dig your body out and steal your soul, I take your body back to